Hi folks, welcome back to the Model 3 Man Club. What? Welcome back to the Model 3 Man channel is what I meant to say. I got 3 items to quickly update you with before we look at today's interesting angles on full self-driving on a long distance trip. Many of you would remember that my youngest daughter Philippa was planning for a trip to Lebanon to work with Syrian refugees and to help people with English as secondary language. She's got about a month and 3 weeks to go. Only yesterday, you all know what happened in Lebanon. And that incredible, massive explosion affected her. She was 2 kilometers from the epicenter of the blast. She was in a store at the time with her friend, and the blast blew in the windows, knocked her off her feet, threw her back in the room, and glass showered everywhere. But the miracle is that there was no physical damage to her, no cuts, no bruises. She was even able to get out and get into their car, the 2 of them, and drive back to her residence. I am truly thankful, truly grateful that she was spared. I know there's agony and there's sadness among the whole of the Lebanese community, but in my house, at least I'm able to experience joy. Her ears were ringing for the next few hours, but she's healthy, she's alive. She literally escaped unscathed.
I'm just leaving internet access now. I'm leaving ABTS to go help them with some manual labor work for the buildings that we're repairing for the families that lost their homes. So I'm not going to have internet for the rest of the day. But I sent you a bunch of links that you can use to put in your videos. And there's a website there that also gives you links to organizations that you can donate through. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Item number 2. It's been a little while since I posted on the channel, and I want to let you know why. Most of you know that I have a digital photography school, ADT school, and that I've run it for 20 years. You possibly also know that I have classes in understanding digital cameras, editing, Lightroom, Photoshop, Final Cut, video editing. And of course, the problem with that is that COVID arrived and no one wants to go and sit in the classroom next to other people who might have the virus. So for the last few weeks, I have been videoing every single one of my courses, converting them to online courses. And it's a major shift. So I'm in the middle of doing that, but of course I'm very eager to keep the channel growing and to keep uploading. And so the third announcement is a new series that we're going to have on Model 3 Man channel. And that is, let's watch full self-driving grow. Okay, that's cumbersome. It could be watch FSD mature, or watch FSD grow, or growing with full self-driving. I don't know, we'll find a name. But here's what it is. It's a look at how the full self-driving capability develops and evolves over these upcoming months leading into the next year. Because, of course, Elon has promised us that we should have the full set of full self-driving capabilities literally within a year. Now, we know there's such a thing as Elon time, and I'm not expecting it. I'd like you to be able to watch as I experience full self-driving improving. I'd like you to see it growing and improving and maturing. So that's the new series. Watch FSD grow, or something like that. Now, on to today's episode. Just over the long weekend, just past, we took a drive once again to Kelowna, where Janine's family lives. And I used the opportunity on the way back to look at the way that full self-driving is currently evolved, is currently developed, both on local roads with traffic lights and stop signs, and on the freeway and the highways. And so today, full self-driving on a long trip. How did it behave? Spoiler alert. I have to say that FSD behaved surprisingly well. Now, that doesn't mean it was perfect. It's not perfect, but some very, very significant improvements over what I've been accustomed to, what I've been used to experiencing. I'm going to list those, and I'm going to show at the same time some of the video footage that I captured that helps you to see how it's working at this point in time. So the trip is about 406 kilometers. It's all the way from Vancouver to the city of Kelowna. This was the return trip. Let's start with number 1. How does it handle traffic intersections, traffic lights? How does it handle any traffic signals? Well, first of all, if you want to go through a green light, you don't just go through a green light. As of the current software, and that is 2020.28.6, that's where we're at today. If you're approaching an intersection, the car will stop even if it's green, unless you tap down lightly on the gear stalk. That gives the car the go-ahead, the permission to go through the intersection so long as the lights remain green. It's told us that it's going to stop. We can see that the lights are red ahead of us. They've gone green. What Janine did was tap down on the gear stalk, and that enabled the car just to keep on going. But it is a bit frustrating to have to keep tapping on the gear stalk. But Janine is getting used to it pretty quickly. Yeah, she is. However, there is an exception to this, and that is if you have a car in front of you that is close enough, not too far away. If it goes through the green intersection, your car will follow it. It'll get pulled through. You know how sometimes when I used to drive a bike, I used to get into the tailwind of big trucks and get sucked along. I know it's dangerous. I was young. What can I say? The car in front of you kind of pulls you through the intersection. But if that car gets too far ahead, then your car will stop for the lights, even if it's green. So we have another set of traffic lights ahead of us. We're traveling in the HOV lane at the moment. Everything is green, and I want to see whether the car here will pull her through. Was it slowing down? Okay, so correct my previous mistake. The car does have to be in your lane, directly ahead of you, and not too far ahead of you. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Now, that thing about the car in front of you pulling you through the lights, it does not apply if the car is in the adjacent lane. It might just be ahead of you, but in the lane next to you. No, you're out of luck. That does not pull you through the lights. It has to be someone in your own lane. Now, there are some strange things that sometimes happen along the way, and one of these was the fact that the car slowed down even when there weren't any lights. There was a bridge that I was going under, and that bridge had 3 warning signs that denoted the height of the bridge so that vehicles higher than that wouldn't go through. When the car saw that, inexplicably, it slowed down. So, it slowed down for no reason. The bridge had some traffic control markers on it. The car slowed down. Now, you may say, well, it was the shadow from the bridge. I don't think so. I've gone under a lot of bridges with shadows, and the car doesn't respond or react to it. But when it saw these 3 yellow warning signs across the top, it slowed down. Now, I have to tell you that the full self-driving visualizations of the traffic lights are pretty immediate. There's literally a half a second between the light out there changing and the light on the touch screen changing as well. I'll shout when it goes green on the traffic controls, and you can see when it changes on the screen here. Green. So it's probably in the order of about half a second, 0.4 of a second. When you see me doing the test here, I'm basically looking up at the lights and saying go as it turns green. And of course, it takes me a half a second to respond. So I think that's pretty good. Less than half a second, and the car has updated itself and it's ready to drive on. Another behavior that is different, another behavior that's improved over my enhanced autopilot of the past is how briskly it now takes off. So once the car does begin to accelerate, it accelerates very quickly. Catches up to the traffic, or at least up to the speed that I've set for it. What I have discovered is that it takes off much more briskly now. When it begins to accelerate, it jumps to attention, speeds up, and catches up with the other traffic pretty quickly. So that's a different behavior. I like it. Doesn't slowly accelerate and lag behind. It just briskly takes off. One of the behaviors that I don't like quite so much is the really hard braking that it sometimes undertakes. If you're coming up to a stop sign, a human being would stop well back, lift the foot off the accelerator, use the regenerative braking, do it slowly, anticipating that they're going to have to stop anyway. In my mind, it doesn't slow down enough. Don't brake, Janine, just leave it. It doesn't slow down smoothly enough. Soon enough, Dragon Lady corrected me, but it's important to note it does stop. It's red at the moment, and car ahead of us is obviously going to have to stop, and so will ours. Janine, don't touch the brake. Don't touch the brake. There we go. That wasn't bad. Red Dragon barrels along full speed, and then what I would consider too late for a human response, she puts on brakes, car slows down and comes to a rather abrupt stop. So that's something that they still need to work on, and I'm sure that they will, in fact. Now, this is the only time you're ever going to hear Dragon Lady sing. It's only a line or two. Let's give it to you. Let it be pulled through and let's see what happens.
Let it be, let it be.
And that's the only time you're going to hear Dragon Lady sing on my channel, unless she wants to. Now, there's another interesting behavior. Sometimes when you get to a set of traffic lights, ahead of that, before that, are some amber flashing lights warning you of the intersection ahead. Nice thing here is that they do appear to slow your car down. So as you get to those amber lights, the car slows down because those are the lights that it has just encountered. And then it comes to a stop at the traffic lights a lot more gently, a lot more cautiously than if the lights are the first warning sign that it comes across. Through. Now there's a hazard light up here. It's turned amber. The car will slow down a bit aggressively, but it did.
You know what? I prefer it slow down because of the amber light. Because if there's no amber light flashing, its slowdown is more aggressive.
Okay.
At the last minute, which is horrible.
All right.
With that flashing amber light, it slowed down when I would have.
But that's still within the way a human would do it.
I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
I'm calmer.
This wasn't aggressive here.
So I'm going to have to tap when this turns green.
Yes, you are.
Because there's no one in front of me.
Once you get onto the freeway, some of the behaviors that I'm looking for and I'm testing for include automatic lane change, and there are some settings. If you ask it to ask you whether it can change lane, annoyingly you'll have to keep tapping it or tapping the indicator to give it approval. I said to it, change lanes automatically, just give me a chime before you do it. That works pretty well because I hear the chime, and if I know it's not safe to change, I just cancel. Let's have a look at how lane changing is implemented in the current iteration of full self-driving. If a car is coming up from behind you, that does not mean that your vehicle is not going to move left, pass a slow vehicle, and then get ahead. In fact, we had a car coming up behind us on the left, and Janine was driving, and Red Dragon still indicated, moved out, and actually accelerated briskly to get a little ahead. I like that. In other words, it had determined that the car wasn't that quick. It wasn't approaching us that fast. It wasn't a danger to us. It anticipated that the car behind would hold off, drop back a little, which it did. And then it turned, passed the car, and quickly moved back into the right-hand lane. It was interesting to see in British Columbia, we do have a few wind turbines scattered around, generating green energy and not burning up carbons. Although, of course, environmentalists will tell you those blades kill so many birds. Shouldn't the birds be watching out for big blades? Okay, please, don't go writing to me. Don't put it in the comments. I'm just kidding. I feel sad for the birds. Now, we came up behind two large Pantechnicons. What would you call them? Trailers? Whatever. But they were going quite fast. They were going just a little bit slower than our speed. You can see two very large Pantechnicons, or trailers, with a bike passing them. We're going to see how Red Dragon initiates the lane change. In the past, it's not been encouraging. It's slowed right down before changing. So we're traveling at our maximum speed right now, but we're getting pretty close. I would think it should have indicated.
There we go.
But it is.
This time
All
it
right.
did, and it didn't slow down.
Well, the reason is that the truck is going pretty fast. The truck was going almost at our speed. So here you are, it's going to pass it. Will it remain in the passing lane because it sees the other truck ahead? Or will it move back in and pass again later? Let's check that out. To give some context, there are no cars behind us, at least not within a kilometer. So Red Dragon has the luxury of sitting in the passing lane and not offending anyone behind us. And it's decided to stay and pass the trailer first, after which I guess it will move in quite quickly. So if the trailers are doing a pretty good speed, almost consistent with our speed, it behaves normally. But if it comes up on very slow moving traffic, then it does stupid things. And here we are moving back into the lane very smoothly. Well, that was good behavior. I was pleased to see that. It exceeded what I was expecting, and that was great. But here's two things that caused full self-driving real problems, real issues. Number one, there was a car that was broken down. It was parked on the shoulder. It was parked off on the right, over the line. It was not intruding into the road itself. We came up at 120k or whatever the speed was on the connector, and as it got to the car that was broken down parked on the right, Red Dragon braked hard, slowed down dramatically. And look, it's true there was no one behind us. It shocked us both. The car wasn't in our lane. It was not moving. It didn't have its hazards on. It was just there. So that was unexpected. And it's something that clearly they'll have to work on. I'm sure they will work on it, but that was weird. The second thing that I noticed was that if we came up behind traffic that was moving slowly, a big trailer or Pantechnicon with its hazard lights flashing, if we came up behind that and it was driving super slow and it had its indicators flashing and it had the hazard lights flashing, Red Dragon slowed down and slowed down and slowed down, and when it had got to the speed of the car in front of us, then it indicated and turned left into the passing lane and had to pick up speed again. Now, any normal human being who's driven more than just 2 weeks will know that if you see a slow-moving car ahead of you or a slow-moving truck ahead of you, the soonest that you can get into the passing lane and stay there, the better for you. So you see it ahead, you know it's slow, and boy, Red Dragon must know that it's slow. With all of the radar units and the cameras and the beautiful hardware 3.0, it's got to be able to calculate that. And yet, all it did was come to a real slow pace, and only then indicate and go past. So there's another thing that I'm looking to see in the future, if that develops and improves and becomes more like a human would be. In general, I've got to tell you, I had my lane change set to average, not Mad Max, just average. But in general, as long as cars were just a little slower than us, Red Dragon did a great job of indicating well in advance, moving into the passing lane, picking up a bit of speed up to my maximum, and when it was safely passed, moving into the right lane and getting out of the passing lane. I was very impressed. I mean, that was 96% of all of our encounters where lane change happened. It just performed beautifully. It performed as smoothly as a human being. The move into the lane was smooth. The move back into the right lane was very smooth. I was very impressed by that. So it really, it exhibits evidence of intelligence. I know it's AI, but it's nevertheless, that's pretty wonderful. And it gives great hope for the ongoing development. And as we start the new series, Watch Full Self-Driving Grow, I'm going to be very excited to take the car out, test it against all of the things that I now consider in need of some work, and see how quickly those things are fixed and the car becomes more like a person. All in all, it was a trip that showed me that a lot has gone right with the development of full self-driving. There's a lot that the car is doing now that was very iffy before, just not very human-like. But there's still some things that obviously work needs to be done. And of course, freeway driving is the low-hanging fruit. That's the easiest thing to get right. It's the local driving, and it's the stop signs and the traffic lights, and it's being able to handle those fluently and smoothly. And then, of course, navigating on your local roads where it turns at a stoplight, gets into the correct lane. That's all still to come. And we'll be watching that together if you follow this channel. So why don't you just take the opportunity to subscribe, hit the subscribe button down there. Please hit the like button, that really does help. Also, what helps is the donations that you folks have made. Just the other day, I was able to get a battery grip for my new Fujifilm camera. Still going to get the batteries, so it's an empty battery grip. You can see me here unpacking it. Nevertheless, it's all thanks to those donations that you folks have made. And you might think that one donation, small donation, doesn't count for much. But if there's a lot of you doing it, it very quickly mounts up and I'm able to get new equipment for the channel. So thank you to those who have donated, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. So until next time when I begin the new series, keep safe, drive carefully, look after your family and your car, and I'll see you next time in the next episode. Cheers for now.